Ah, Christmas, that magical time of the year when people are reminded of exactly why they left home.
And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man.
That's right.
Of the seed of man.
The word seed is sperm, and sperm comes through having sex.
It's shut out of your father's rod,
right.
To put it in layman terms, in his penis.
That's right.
That means a man put his penis in a woman and bust off in it.
Then the angel said to him, "Take out the entrails of this fish, and lay up his heart and his gall and his liver for thee. For these are necessary for useful medicines."
The rest of the chapters of the Book of Esther,
Go ahead.
which are found neither in the Hebrew nor in the Chaldee.
Greetings, fellow worker slaves, podcasting at 128 kilobits from the Fortress of Squalitude. This is the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. I'm your host, Tucker. Professor Fuzznuts is hiding in the bedroom, I guess. Yes, it's a podcast hosted by a guy and he's cat. Get over it. My apologies for the delay in getting this episode out to you, but I've had a busy week. Part of it has been struggling to give Fuzznuts his medication. He was perfectly well behaved when he started taking it, but as the week wore on, he was less interested in putting up with me trying to give him his pills and other meds. I've taken to grinding it up and dumping it into a can of wet food, but even now that seems to have stopped working, so I guess I'll be going back to stuffing pills down his throat while he scratches the shit out of me. Dog owners have it easy. They just put the pill in some peanut butter, give it to the dog, and they're done. The other reason I've been so busy is that I've been working on a special Patreon-only episode, which should be going up in a day or so from now. You'd think that it wouldn't take me long to whip out one of those, but they're not as easy to crank out as some might think. All of which has meant I didn't have the kind of time I thought I'd have to put this out. This is the second Apocrypha episode on the Book of Judith, and this time I'm joined not only by Dustin, but his wife Lauren for most of the episode as well. Lauren had to step out for a moment to take care of a few things, and Dustin and I continued on without her until she came back. Now, I could swear that when I edited the last Judith episode that I had to cut off the recording before Dustin and I had finished reading the section of Judith that we'd covered. I'd assumed that I'd pull the rest out, splice it on to the front of this session, and go from there. However, in listening back, it seems to me that I actually did manage to squeeze in everything that we read, and all that was lost was just some side conversations which don't make much sense without the verses they were related to. If I did miss any verses, then trust me, you don't need them. They would have just been rambling bullshit involving somebody kissing somebody else's ass or threatening folks with death and destruction. The good stuff all starts happening in this episode. 3 final bits. Once again, I want to thank everyone for their thoughts and financial help with Houdini. Grief is the one emotion I really have a hard time dealing with, and you guys have greatly helped me with that. I am internally grateful for all you've done for me and my cats. Second thing is that I did a Christmas special of Holy Crap, the Vlodcast this morning. I'm not sure when it'll be posted, but I was very, very happy to be on there and hang out with Shujin Tribble, Bridget, Joseph, and all the others. I've listened to the podcast and watched their live stream of it a number of times, but this was the first time I was invited on, and we had a really good conversation about some pretty strange topic at times. It was supposed to be, well, what do you guys do, during the holidays, since you're not really Christian, do you celebrate? And I don't think we actually discussed that for more than a minute or two. And it went all sideways from there. Part of it was my fault because I brought up the photo that I'd seen on the web of, what appears to be Pope Francis giving a blowjob to a baby Jesus. That's what it looks like. I'll have that in the show notes, too, if you want to see it, because it's just like, what the fuck? The final piece is a bit of good news. By sheer luck, I will be able to attend ReasonCon next year. Chris from the Podunk Polymath podcast and Joe Kindick from the Unbuckling the Bible Belt podcast had both offered to pick up the cost of lodging if I could buy my own ticket. I was trying to figure out how to pay for the ticket when someone in an atheist group I'm in asked what was the point of going to things like ReasonCon. I gave an answer that one of the guys running ReasonCon liked so much that he gave me a free ticket in exchange for being able to use my comments on the ReasonCon Facebook page. I didn't even ask for the ticket. He offered it in order to use my quote. I'd have happily let him use the quote even without the offer. So if you're going to ReasonCon, feel free to look me up. If you're thinking about going to ReasonCon or any other atheist convention, by all means go. They are a hell of a lot of fun, and the surge of emotional energy you get by just being surrounded by a large group of people who share your lack of belief in God is just amazing. Callie Wright did an incredible show after ReasonCon that I'll link to in the show notes about what it meant for her to be there. Believe me, I shared many of her same emotions, as did everyone else I've talked to. I'm not sure what all they have planned for ReasonCon next year, but I will be bringing some recording gear with me and getting at least some audio from the convention to use on an episode after I get back. Okay, now on to me, Dustin, and Lauren reading from the Book of Judith. Since y'all are the guests, I'll let you two go first, and we'll just roll along until we hit roughly an hour or so, and then wrap it up.
All right. And when the tumult of men that were about the council was ceased, Holofernes, the chief captain of the army of Assur, said to Achor and all the Moabites before all the company of other nations, And who art thou, Achor, and the hirelings of Ephraim, that thou hast prophesied against us today, and hast said that we should not make war with the people of Israel, because their God will defend them? And who is God but Nebuchadnezzar?
Nebuchadnezzar is a god?
God King.
God King.
Yes, yes.
It's also the name of the ship in the Matrix. I Googled it.
Nice.
Nice. Okay, go ahead with 3, Lauren.
Okay, so...
6. Chapter 6.
Oh, chapter 6. I was looking at line 6, and I was like, what on earth? Okay, he will send them his power, and will destroy them from the face of the earth, and their God shall not deliver them. But we, his servants, will destroy them as one man, for they are not able to sustain the power of our horses. Horses, really? For with them we will tread them underfoot, and their mountains shall be drunken with their blood. Okay, that sounds pretty metal. Yeah. And their fields shall be filled with their dead bodies, and with their dead bodies. And their footsteps will not be able to stand before us, for they shall utterly perish, saith King Nebuchadnezzar, Lord of all the earth. For he said, none of my words shall be in vain. Okay, that is super metal.
Yeah. So much Bible and, Apocrypha by proxy works so well for metal.
Yeah. My question, though, is how does the blood get from the bodies in the fields up to the mountains?
Well, it's being drunken. It's being suctioned up by the mountains. Like, he's got a crazy straw or something.
Well, and actually in that area, it's physically pretty much all mountain. So there isn't fields, really. There isn't really valleys. There's just these crevices that flow down towards other mountains.
Blood flowing along the crevasses.
Yeah.
Okay. And thou, Achor, and hireling of Ammon, which hast spoken these words in the day of thine iniquity, shalt see my face no more from this day, until I take vengeance of this nation that came out of Egypt. Now therefore my servants shall bring thee back into the hill country, and shall set thee in one of the cities of the passages. That's kind of metal.
Yeah. And those passages would probably be the ravines.
Yeah.
And thou shalt not perish till thou be destroyed with them. And if thou persuade thyself in thy mind, and they shall be taken, let not thy countenance fall. I have spoken it, and none of my words shall be in vain. And then Holofernes commanded his servants that waited in his tent to take Achor and bring him to Bethulia to deliver him into the hands of the children of Israel.
Okay. So the servants took him and brought him out of the camp into the plain, and they went from the midst of the plain into the hill country, which, from my understanding, is everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And came unto the fountains that were under Bethulia. And when the men of the city saw them, they took up their weapons and went out of the city to the top of the hill. And every man that used a sling kept them from coming up by casting of stones against them. I kind of imagine one of those, like, those Waldo pictures where you have, like, an illustration of, like, 1,000 people and all of them slinging. I don't know. It's pretty hilarious. Waldo's in there somewhere.
Yeah. They found, I don't know, about 10 years ago, a city in Iran. I think it was, it was the ruins of an old city.
Yeah.
And it had been destroyed, basically, by guys with slingshots.
Oh, the archaeological dig I did in Jordan, it would have been, it was an ancient Ammonite city. So actually this guy's people destroyed in the late Iron II period, so probably either Assyrian or Babylonian conquest. So a few hundred years before the story's taking place. And one of the groups that was doing the dig that year was digging out the city wall. And they found this shot that had been used to tear down the wall. And we're talking iron balls that were probably about 1.5 pounds.
Wow.
Well, we're pretty lucky here. We have a Idaho Archaeological Society. They do demonstrations sometimes. They their favorite is the stick throwing mechanism that the Native Americans used. But they do slingshots too. Mm-hmm. So they'll take people out into the foothills and do slingshots into the foothills, and you'll see how far they can cast that stone, and then you see it hit the foothill and poof.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can see how that could be used as a weapon.
And with the kind of construction they were doing in these Ammonite cities, and just a general area in general, they're doing limestone blocks that were roughly 1 meter by 1 meter by 0.5 meter. So pretty heavy blocks. Each one weighed a couple 100 pounds, but it was just rocks stacked on top of rocks, cut rocks. And if you take a 1.5 pound chunk of metal, and it was nicely rounded, you sling that hard enough at it, you're going to start nudging those rocks along. And if you nudge them far enough, it's going to topple.
Oh, I see.
Well, this city I'm thinking of, the shot they found was clay. Clay balls that, it had been hardened in a kiln. And I don't know what the wall, they were some kind of stone, obviously, but I don't know exactly what the walls were made, what kind of stone it was, but they had, they had deep pock marks. It looked like bullet holes from all the shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now let's get back here.
13.
Yeah. Nevertheless, having gotten privily under the hill, they bound Achor and cast him down and left him at the foot of the hill and returned to their lord.
Well, that's not very nice.
No. But the Israelites descended from their city and came unto him, kinky, and loosed him, and brought him to Bethulia, and presented him to the governors of the city.
Yeah, okay, tongue-in-cheek on that one. Or not, just blatantly came unto him and loosened him. That's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Which were in those days Ozias the son of Micah of the tribe of Simeon, and Chabrus the son of Gothoniel, and Sharmus the son of Melchiel.
Hey, you got all the fun ones.
And they called together all the ancients of the city, And all their youth ran together, and their women, to the assembly, and they set Achor in the midst of all the people. Then Ozias asked him of that which was done. So,
hey, that was a brief genealogy.
The ancients, so all the old people, the youth, and the women.
So not the fighting men.
Not the, probably farming men.
Farming men, sorry. Yeah. And he answered and declared unto them the words of the council of Holofernes, and all the words that he had spoken in the midst of the princes of Assur, and whosoever Holofernes had spoken proudly against the house of Israel. Then the people fell down and worshipped God, and cried unto God, saying,
O Lord God of heaven, behold their pride, and pity the low estate of our nation, and look upon the face of those that are sanctified unto thee this day. Then they comforted Achor and praised him greatly. And I'm just going to take the last one since... And Ozias took him out of the assembly unto his house, and made a feast to the elders, and they called on the God of Israel all that night for help. Wait, so they're taking the prisoner of, who's like a chieftain of the opposing army, and throwing a party for him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of fun.
And the Israelites...
Especially with all the women there.
The Israelites and Ammonites were not friends. At all.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The next day, Holofernes commanded his army and all his people which were to take his part, that they should remove their camp from Bethulia, to take aforehand the ascents of the hill country, and to make war against the children of Israel. Then their strong men removed their camp in that day, and the army of the men of war was 170,000 footmen, and 1,200,000 horsemen beside the baggage, and other men that were afoot among them, a very great multitude.
I would have been one of the baggage.
Okay, so they are on a plain. So they're actually probably at the Madaba Plains, or kind of the Ammon area. That is kind of a flat area there before the hill country. And then the 20 miles or so to the west, it's pretty steep hills until you get to the start of the drop-off for the Jordan Valley, where it drops about 5,000 feet. It's pretty rugged there.
And they camped in the valley near unto Bethulia, by the fountain, and they spread themselves in breadth over Dothaim, even to Belmaim, and in length from Bethulia unto Cinnamon, which is over against Esdraelon. I'm sorry, guys. Those are kind of...
Sounds good to me.
Now the children of Israel... that one I know. Okay, now the children of Israel, when they saw the multitude of them, were greatly troubled, and said every one to his neighbor, now will these... Sorry.
Quiet.
Corgi interruption.
Rocco, quiet.
Now will these men lick up the face of the earth, for neither the... What? Okay. Now will these men lick up the face of the earth, for neither the high mountains, nor the valleys, nor the hills are able to bear their weight. That's a lot of men that they're worried about licking up earth.
Rocco, quiet.
I just can't imagine there being 170,000 people that they could march to that area at that period of time.
No, I think that's a little conflagrated.
Well, for a good comparison, Saladin, when he reconquered Palestine from the Crusaders, had an army that was probably about 200,000 men. And that was most likely the largest army ever in the history of Earth. And so then for the movie Kingdom of Heaven, where they're showing this army, to be able to actually show it, they filmed it in Morocco. Because the actual area they're showing, you couldn't see 170,000 people. It's physically impossible. They don't fit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're getting to the fight.
Yeah. Then every man took up his weapons of war, and when they had kindled fires upon their towers, they remained and watched all that night. But in the second day, Holofernes brought forth all his horsemen in the sight of the children of Israel, which were in Bethulia. Okay. So, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but where'd they get all the wood? That's kind of a desert area.
Yeah. Well, there were trees then. It's more desert now than it was. Excuse me. It's more desert now than it was then because of the Ottoman tax on trees.
Ah.
And also just the Ottomans building their railroad. And viewed the passages up to the city, and came to the fountains of their waters, and took them, and set garrisons of men of war over them, and he himself removed towards his people. Then came unto him all of the chiefs of the children of Esau, and all the governors of the people of Moab, and the captains of the seacoast, and said,
Let our Lord now hear a word, and there be not an overthrow in thine army. For this people of the children of Israel do not trust in their spears, but in the height of the mountains wherein they dwell, because it is not easy to come up to the tops of their mountains. Duh, that's kind of the point of having... Yeah, okay. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they don't know how mountains work.
Yeah. Or the old axiom, take the high ground.
Mm-hmm.
You were the chosen one! Sorry.
It's okay. Now, therefore, my lord, fight not against them in battle array. Okay. Is you going to come in a skirt and a clown outfit or something? And there shall not be so much as one man of thy people perish. Okay, so God walks into the battle naked or something, and nobody else is going to die because they're all just shocked at the size of his wang.
It's like a Dr. Manhattan moment.
Oh, and my lord here would be the commander.
Ah, okay. Ruin all the fun.
No,
it's still hilarious.
It still works that he was hoping to shock them with the size of his cock.
Yeah. Remain in thy camp, and keep all the men of thine army, and let thy servants get into their hands the fountain of water, which issueth forth at the foot of the mountain. So, yeah.
Get naked and wet?
Well, everybody who's talented in the art of war, just hang out here. We'll send the baggage handlers out to fight these guys.
Well, if you block up their water supply, the siege isn't going to last very long.
That's true.
For all the inhabitants of Bethulia have their water thence, so shall thirst kill them, and they shall give up their city, and we and our people shall go up to the top of the mountains that are near, and will camp upon them, and watch that none go out of the city. So they and their wives and their children shall be consumed with fire, and before the sword come against them, they shall be overthrown in the streets where they dwell.
Wow, okay, so they want the vantage point.
Yeah.
Carnage.
So you thirst them out, and then once they
Set
run...
them on fire!
Yeah, burn them.
Thou shalt thou render them an evil reward, because they rebelled, and met not only thy person peaceably. And these words pleased Holofernes and all of his servants, and he appointed to do as they had spoken. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the camp... Oh, go ahead.
Nope, sorry, that was just a pretty good battle plan.
Yeah.
So the camp of the children of Ammon departed, and with them 5,000 of the Assyrians, and they pitched in the valley, and took the waters, and the fountains of the waters of the children of Israel. Then the children of Esau went up with the children of Ammon, and camped in the hill country over against Dothaim, and they sent some of them toward the south, and toward the east over against Ecrabel, which is near unto Chuzi, that is upon the brook of Machmor.
This would be so much easier with a map.
Yeah. And the rest of the army of the Assyrians camped in the plain and covered the face of the whole land, and their tents and carriages were pitched to a very great multitude. Now, one thing I don't understand about this is earlier it seemed to indicate that the Israelites were all living on top of the mountains, and the army was, the Assyrian army was in the valley, and now it seems to be the reverse.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, but they also just said they don't send any soldiers, and then they send 5,000 soldiers.
Yeah.
Just the wet servants. Oh, well.
Then the children of Israel cried unto the Lord their God, because their heart failed, for all their enemies had compassed around them, and there was no way to escape out from among them. Thus all the company of Assur remained about them, both their footmen, chariots, and horsemen, 34 days, so that their vessels of water failed all the inhabitants of Bethulia.
And the cisterns were emptied, and they had not water to drink their fill for 1 day, for they gave them drink by measure. Therefore their young children were out of heart, and their women and young men fainted for thirst, and fell down in the streets of the city, and by the passages of the gates there was no longer any strength in them. Aww.
Have you read Josephus' account of the siege of Masada?
No, I'm a little bit familiar with it, but I haven't actually read it myself.
Yeah, he goes into pretty graphic descriptions in parts as to, how bad things were before the citadel finally fell. It's a little nastier than what we've got here.
And I've actually been there, and or a place very similar to it, and it's pretty shocking the way the Romans did it was they would just gather all the rocks and bring them and start piling them up against the city walls. And they never finished their ramps because the people would surrender long before they could.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of times it was just the sight of the army was enough to get people to give up.
And I'll add to it just the fact that they're depriving you of water, they're depriving you of access to more food, and as they keep building up the ramp, that's some pretty crazy psychological warfare, where it's like, okay, they're getting close, they're getting close, they're getting close.
And we're dead.
Yep. Then all the people assembled to Ozias and the chief of the city, both young men and women and children, and cried with a loud voice and said before all the elders, God be judge between us and you, for ye have done us great injury, in that ye have not required peace of the children of Assur. Well, they're kind of kicking your ass. It's a little hard to say, surrender. Is he supposed to be like the Black Knight and Monty Python?
Yeah, you've done us great injury by doing what you came here to do.
No! War is hard!
For now we have no helper but God. For now we have no helper, but God hath sold us into their hands, that we should be thrown down before them with thirst and great destruction. Now therefore call them unto you, and deliver the whole city for a spoil to the people of Holofernes, and to all of his army.
Yeah, why didn't God make it rain? That would have filled up the cisterns and made it harder to torch the city.
Why didn't God do anything? Yeah. Oh, wait.
He will.
For it is better for us to be made a spoil unto them than to die for thirst. For we will be his servants, and our souls may live, and not see the death of our infants before our eyes, nor our wives, nor our children to die. We take to witness against you the heaven and earth, and our God and Lord of our fathers, which punisheth us according to our sins and sins of our fathers, that he do not according as we have said this day.
So they somehow think that it'll be the women and the babies that die, but the men will survive. That's not usually how it worked in those situations. I seem to recall.
Well, they'd usually kill the babies.
Yeah. And
the men would go off and fight and die.
Right.
And the women would be left behind to get raped.
Right. It was generally, if you were childbearing age or close to it on the young side, and you got to live. But if you were really young, you died, and if you were menopausal, you died, and you were a woman.
Well, pretty much if you're a woman, you were screwed no matter what.
Well, yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Yep. Then there was great weeping with one consent in the midst of the assembly, and they cried unto the Lord God with a loud voice. Then said Ozias to them, Brethren, be of good courage. Let us yet endure 5 days, in which the space the Lord of our God may turn his mercy toward us, for he will not forsake us utterly. Really?
Yeah, he will.
Come on, 5 more days, guys. 5 more days. I promise he is on his way. 5 more days.
And if
Checks in the mail.
And if these days pass and there come no help for us, I will do according to your word. And he dispersed the people, every one to their own charge, and they went unto the walls and the towers of the city, and sent the women and children into their houses, and they were very low brought in the city.
Oh, sad days.
So, did they tell the Assyrians, hey guys, we're going to have a conference, so don't shoot anything at us, and when we're done, we'll go back and we'll let you know what's going on. It seems to me if the entire city is gathered in a meeting place, that's a good time to start hurling big rocks at them.
Yeah, is the guy still naked at this point?
During the Cold War, the Russians had 3 nukes targeted at this little building at the center of the park inside of the Pentagon. And they were always wondering what was going on, because every day at the same time, huge masses of people all went to this one spot. Like, it's got to be some super important, like, bunker access. So then after the Cold War, some Russian commanders were over, and they're like, they were visiting the Pentagon, and they're like, okay, you have to tell us, what is that building? And they took them out to it, and it was a hot dog stand. And the Russians didn't believe it. They're like, okay, make them a hot dog. Made them hot dogs, and then they finally accepted that, yeah, they were wanting to blow up the hot dog stand.
Well, it must have been good hot dogs. Okay, so on to chapter 8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Of course, I get stuck with the frickin' genealogy. Okay. Now at that time Judith heard thereof, which was the daughter of Merari, the son of Ox, the son of Joseph, the son of Ozel, the son of Elsia, the son of Ananias, the son of Gideon, the son of Raphaim, the son of Asitho, the son of Eliu, the son of Eliab, the son of Nathaniel, the son of Samuel, the son of Salazadal, and the son of Israel. Oh, wow. Okay. And Manassas was her husband, of her tribe and kindred, who died in the barley harvest.
He was attacked by barley.
Oh, God. It was hay fever. Well, that's unfortunate.
Now, that's how they do genealogies in this book. All this crap.
Yep. And then, yeah, died in the barley harvest.
That is just, really? I wowould make something up. He burst into flames and took the whole town with him or something.
Yeah. This makes me wonder. There is it? It's not. Oh God. Hercules. The labors of Hercules, where he tied the foxes' tails together and set them on fire, and
Samson.
Samson, who sent him, sent him through the fields of grain for somebody. That is a allegory of a mold that would destroy crops in that part of the world, and it was a reddish mold. Lots of molds are toxic. So I wonder if that's not what would have killed him.
Well, they say in the next sentence. Oh, okay. Actually.
Then I guess I'll read that. For as he stood overseeing them that bound sheaves in the field, the heat came upon his head, and he fell on his bed and died in the city of Bethulia. So heat stroke killed him.
Yeah. He died of heat stroke in the barley harvest.
Yeah. And they buried him with his fathers in the field between Dothaim and Belamo. So Judith was a widow in her house 3 years and 4 months. Okay.
And she made her a tent upon the top of her house, and put on sackcloth upon her loins, and wear her widow's apparel.
Loins.
And she fasted all the days of her widowhood, save the eves of the Sabbaths, and the eves of the new moons, and the new moons, and the feast and solemn days of the house of Israel.
Well, she's a party pooper, isn't she?
Well, she'd eat for all the parties.
Yeah,
well, the sad parties. There's a lot of sad parties.
The feast and solemn days of the house of Israel, that's like... There's like a week per month covering those. Add the new moon, which happens each month. And Sabbath every week. So that's still not a lot of eating.
No, it's not.
She must have been rail thin.
Yeah.
Well, except for the next couple verses.
Yeah.
She was also of a goodly countenance, and very beautiful to behold. Her husband Manasseh had left her gold, silver, men servants and maid servants, and cattle and lands, and she remained upon them, and there was none that gave her an ill word, as she feared God greatly. Okay, rail thin could still be beautiful. I mean, some people seem to think that.
Now, but then fat was beautiful.
Well,
Yeah. Now, when she heard the evil words of the people against the governor, that they fainted for lack of water, for Judith had heard all the words that Ozias had spoken unto them, and that he had sworn to deliver the city unto the Assyrians after 5 days, then she sent her waiting woman that had the government of all things that she had to Ozias and Chibris and Sharmis, the ancients of the city. Okay.
Yeah.
had the government of all things that she had. What does that mean?
Ran her
that means-
estate.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And they came unto her, and she said unto them, Hear me now, O ye governors of the inhabitants of Bethulia, for your words that ye have spoken before the people of this day are not right, touching this oath which ye made, and pronounced between God and you, and have promised to deliver the city to our enemies, unless within these days the Lord turn to help you. And now who are ye that have tempted God this day, and stand instead of God amongst the children of men?
So she called them out on their cowardice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Help yourselves. And now try the Lord Almighty, but ye shall never know anything, for ye cannot find the depth of the heart of man, neither can ye perceive the things that he thinketh. And how can he search out God, and hath made all these things, and know his mind, or comprehend his purpose? Nay, my brethren, provoke not the Lord our God to anger. Preachy, but...
Yeah. For if he will not help us within these 5 days, he hath power to defend us when he will, even every day, or to destroy us before our enemies. Do not bind the counsels of the Lord our God, for God is not as man, that he may be threatened, neither is he as the Son of Man, that he should be wavering. Well, that kind of goes without saying. If God is all-powerful, then you can't do shit to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now therefore let us wait for salvation of him, and call upon him to help us, and he will hear our voice if it please him. For there arose none in our age, neither is there any now in these days, neither tribe nor family nor people, nor city among us, which worship gods made with hands, as hath been aforetime.
Type amen.
Yeah.
For the which cause our fathers were given to the sword, and for a spoil, and had a great fall before our enemies. But we know none other God, therefore we trust that we will not despise us, or any of our nation.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Given the history of the
Prayer.
Jewish people,
Let's pray, and surely it'll turn out okay for us.
Well,
Wait.
What's really funny, though, is she's saying, let's wait for God, which is what the people are already doing.
Yeah, but you have to wait with faith. You can't wait 5 days and then surrender.
Uh-huh. You have to wait till you die.
You have to wait forever, because that's not how prayer works.
Yeah.
for if we be taken so, all Judea shall lie waste, and our sanctuary shall be spoiled, and he will require the profanation thereof at our mouth. Okay. And the slaughter of our children, and the captivity of the country, and the desolation of our inheritance. Will he turn upon our heads among the Gentiles, wheresoever we shall be in bondage, and we shall be an offense and a reproach to all them that possess us. So, I mean
bad things.
Yeah, but it's like, not only are you going to be prisoners and be punished by God for being prisoners, but he's going to punish the people holding you for prisoners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody loses.
Yeah.
For our servitude shall not be directed to favor, but the Lord our God shall turn it to dishonor. Now therefore, O brethren, let us show an example to our brethren, because their hearts depend on us, and the sanctuary and the house and the altar rest upon us. Wow, she is laying on the pressure.
Yeah, just a little bit. Moreover, let us give thanks to the Lord our God, which trieth us, even as he did our fathers. Remember what things he did to Abraham, and how he tried Isaac, and what happened to Jacob in the Mesopotamia of Syria, and when he kept the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. Yes, remember those stories that we discussed earlier.
Yeah, Isaac is not, Abraham and Isaac is not really a good example.
No, in fact, they're all terrible. God's a douche.
Yeah. For he hath not tried us in the fire, as he did them, for the examination of their hearts. But he already knows all this shit, so why has he got to put you on trial? Neither hath he taken vengeance on us, but the Lord doth scourge them that come near unto him to admonish them. Wait, aren't you supposed to... Nah, I'm not even going to... That's just... Then said Ozias to her, All that thou hast thou spoken with a good heart, and there is none that may gainsay thy words. But...
But... Yeah, there's a big but coming up on that one.
Yep.
For this is not the first day wherein thy wisdom is manifested, but from the beginning of thy days all the people have known thy understanding, because the disposition of thine heart is good. But the people were very thirsty. Yep, but... But the people were very thirsty, and compelled us to do unto them as we have spoken, and to bring an oath upon ourselves, which we will not break.
Therefore now pray thou for us, because thou art a godly woman, and the Lord will send us rain to fill our cisterns, and we shall faint no more. Oh, hey, that answered your question from earlier.
Yeah, because they're thirsty.
Yes. Then said Judith unto them, Hear me, and I will do a thing, which shall go throughout all generations to the children of our nation.
Uh-huh. And that's why most people have never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Ye shall stand this night in the gate, and I will go forth with my waiting woman, and within the days that ye have promised to deliver this city to our enemies, the Lord will visit Israel by mine hand. But inquire not ye of mine act, for I will not declare it unto you till the things be finished that I do.
It's a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Then said Ozias and the princes unto her, Go in peace, and the Lord God be before thee, to take vengeance on our enemies. So they returned from the tent and went to their wards.
See, now that's how prayer works. You pray for change, and then you do the change, and then magically the prayer works.
Yep. And, yeah.
She's a woman of action.
And, yeah, of course, they're going to work out a compromise to where the people aren't going to die of thirst.
Yeah.
Be pretty boring book if everybody died.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that happened in the Bible.
I mean, yeah, okay, that's true. That's not necessarily a spoiler alert here.
And also, as far as a boring book, Lauren, the part we covered last time was a whole lot of gathering all the different countries and traveling to all the different places.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It was basically, and we're walking, and we're walking.
Oh, it's Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, here we go. Judith fell upon her face, put ashes upon her head, and uncovered the sackcloth wherewith she was clothed. And about the time that the incense of that evening was offered in Jerusalem in the house of the Lord, Judith cried with a loud voice and said, O Lord God of my father Simeon, who thou gavest the sword to take vengeance of the strangers, who loosened the girdle of a maid to defile her, and discovered the thigh to her shame, and polluted her virginity to her reproach. For thou saidst, it shall not be so, and yet they did so. Oh, woman. You got some things you need to learn about the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's praying face down, naked, covered in ashes.
Wherefore thou gavest their rulers to be slain, so that they dyed their bed in blood, being deceived, and smotest the servants with their lords. What the fuck? Why kill the help? They did, they don't have any choice in it. And the lords upon their thrones, and hast given their wives for a prey.
Yeah.
That is Prey, not Pray. And their daughters to be captives, and all their spoils to be divided among thy dear children, which were moved with thy zeal, and abhorred the pollution of their blood, and called upon thee for aid. O God, oh my God, hear me also a widow.
This is pretty entertaining so far.
Yeah. For thou hast wrought not only those things, but also the things which fell out before.
Take shorter strokes.
Yeah, and which ensued after. Thou hast thought upon the things which are now and which are to come. Yea, what things thou didst determine were ready at hand, and said, Lo, we are here, for all thy ways are prepared, and thy judgments are in thy foreknowledge.
So she's telling God what's going on, even though God should know.
Yeah. And should have already decided.
And has already known, and has already decided. For behold, the Assyrians are multiplied in their power. They are exalted with horse and man. They are glory in the strength of their footmen. They trust in shield and spear and bow and sling. And know not thou art the Lord that breakest the battles. The Lord is thy name. Throw down their strength in thy power, and bring down their force in thy wrath, for they have purposed to defile thy sanctuary, and to pollute the tabernacle where thy glorious name resteth, and to cast down with sword the horn of thine altar. Okay, God, anytime now.
They've got a horny altar?
Yes.
Behold their pride, and send thy wrath upon their heads. Give into mine hand, which am a widow, the power that I have conceived. Smite by the deceit of my lips the servant with the prince, and the prince with the servant. Break down their stateliness by the hand of a woman. Ooh, that's really humiliating.
Yeah.
In that period of time, you got beat by a woman, you are worthless.
And now everybody knows what's going to happen. Yeah. For thy power standeth not in multitude, nor thy might in strong men, for thou art a God of the afflicted, an helper of the oppressed, an upholder of the weak, a protector of the forlorn, a savior of them that are without hope. I pray thee, O God of my father, and God of the inheritance of Israel, Lord of the heavens and earth, creator of the waters, king of every creature, hear thou my prayer.
Okay, we finally get to the prayer.
And no, that's the end of the prayer.
Oh, okay.
but what gets me is, for thou art a God of the afflicted. Well, why are there any afflicted if there's an all-powerful God?
Why is this even happening to them?
And when has he ever actually helped the afflicted? Or the oppressed? Yeah. Or the weak? It seems like the strongest always win.
Yeah.
And make my speech and deceit to be their wound and stripe, who have purposed cruel things against thy covenant, and thy hallowed house, and against the top of Sion, and against the house of the possession of thy children. Make every nation and tribe to acknowledge that thou art the God of all power and might, and that there is none other that protecteth the people of Israel but thou.
Okay.
She's kind of putting all of her eggs in one basket there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now after that she had ceased to cry unto the God of Israel, and bad made an end of all these words. I'm guessing that's... But what, Bade doesn't even make any sense in that.
Had would
Bad
make more
end.
sense.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
She rose where she had fallen down and called her maid and went down into the house in the which she abode in the Sabbath days and in her feast days. And apparently she's still naked?
Yeah. Yep.
Nope, not quite.
She never put this. Oh. Okay. And pulled off the sackcloth which she had on, and put off the garments of her widowhood, and washed her body all over with water, and anointed herself with precious ointment, and braided the hair of her head, and put on a tire upon it.
I know what I'm going to be for Halloween.
And put on her garments of gladness, wherewith she was clad during the life of Manasseh her husband. And she took sandals upon her feet, and put about her bracelets, and her chains, and her rings, and her earrings, and all her ornaments, and decked herself bravely to allure the eyes of all men that should see her.
Regular harlot. All right.
Yeah.
Then she gave her maid a bottle of wine and a cruse of oil, and filled a bag with parched corn and lumps of figs with fine bread. So she folded all these things together and laid them upon her. Thus they went forth to the gate of the city of Bethulia, and found standing there Ozias and the ancients of the city, Chabrus and Charmus.
All right.
She had the bread upon her. What?
Well, it's like, what, you can't give them a whole fig? You got to take a lump?
Yeah.
They come in lumps.
Well, what's funny here, she packed the bag and made her servant carry it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what servants are for.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And when they saw her, that her countenance was altered, and her apparel was changed, they wondered at her beauty very greatly, and said unto her, the God of our fathers, give thee favor, and accomplish thine enterprises to the glory of the children of Israel, and to the exaltation of Jerusalem. Then they worshipped God.
Holy crap, she must have been very pretty. They're like, oh, wow, you are, we need to pray right now.
Yeah. Oh, I'm praying so hard.
Committing adultery within my mind.
And she said unto them, command the gates of the city to be opened unto me, that I may go forth to accomplish the things wherewith ye have spoken with me. But she didn't tell them anything. She said she was going to leave and wouldn't tell them what was going to happen. Anyway, so they commanded the young men to open unto her as she had spoken. And when they had done so, Judith went out, she and her maid with her, and the men of the city looked after her until she was gone down the mountain, until she had passed the valley and could see her no more. So they ogled her as long as they possibly could.
And they went straight forth in the valley, and the first watch of the Assyrians met her, and they took her and asked her, of what people art thou, and whence comest thou, and whither goest thou? Okay. And she said, I am woman of the Hebrews, and I fled from them, for they shall be given you to be consumed.
And I am coming before Holofernes, the chief captain of your army.
The naked one.
who somehow I know his name, to declare the words of truth, and I will shew him a way, whereby he shall go and win all the hill country without losing the body or life of any one of his men. Now when the men heard her words and beheld her countenance, they wondered greatly at her beauty, and said unto her, Hey, baby.
Yeah.
What's a girl like you doing in a ravine like this?
Thou hast saved thy life, in that thou hast hasted to come down to the presence of our Lord. Now therefore come to his tent, and some of us shall conduct thee, until they have delivered thee to his hands. And when thou standest before him, be not afraid in thine heart, but show unto him according to thy word, and he will entreat thee well.
Wait, what is this? Oh, we shall conduct thee until they have delivered thee to his hands? What does that mean?
Escort.
Make
sure she gets through the camp safely.
Okay.
This is the anti-rape walk.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
And they wondered at her beauty and admired the children of Israel because of her. And everyone said to his neighbor, who would despise this people that have among them such women? Surely it is not good that one man of them be left who, being let go, might deceive the whole earth. And they that lay near Holofernes went out, and all his servants, and they brought her into the tent.
Oh, boy.
She's in the tent!
And if Holofernes was wearing pants, he'd probably be pitching a tent.
Yeah. And, Lauren, you passed over a couple of two verses, one of which
did I?
specified that there was 100 men accompanying her.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Let me read those verses.
Okay.
Where was it?
Yeah.
17 and 18.
Oh, there was concourse. Okay.
Yeah.
I had the wrong ones highlighted.
That's fine. Fix it in post.
Post. Tent post. Then they chose out of them 100 men to accompany her and her maid, and they brought her to the tent of Holofernes. Then there was a concourse throughout all the camp, for her coming was noised among the tents, and they came about her as she stood without the tent of Holofernes, till they told of her.
So, bukkake.
Just an ogling party.
Well, so what seems kind of odd is the night watch they had around the camp had enough men to send off 100 with her. So that was a pretty big guard
had nothing
detail.
to do except for sit there and watch this mountain, hoping that somebody will try to escape.
Or sleep. Or get drunk. Or something.
Whatever.
And, yeah, so it took 100 of them to make sure that she'd make it through camp safely.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
And they wondered at her beauty and admired the children of Israel because of her, and everyone said to his neighbor, "Who would despise this people that have among them such women? Surely it is not good that one man of them be left, who, being let go, might deceive the whole world." That doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm guessing they're saying, hey, they've got all these hot chicks, so we should kill all the men because they obviously don't respect them because they're letting her wander out in the dark.
I think that's what it's saying.
Okay. And they that... Go ahead. And they that lay near Holofernes went out, and all his servants, and they brought her into his tent.
And now she's in the tent.
So in other words, they shoot out all his hookers, and...
Yeah.
Those have got herpes. You don't want them. You want her.
Now Holofernes rested upon his bed under a canopy, which was woven with purple and gold and emeralds and precious stones. So they showed him...
Tricks on him. You can't weave with stones.
Yeah.
So they showed him of her, and he came out before his tent with silver lamps going before him. And when Judith was come before him and his servants, they all marveled at the beauty of her countenance, and she fell down upon her face and did reverence unto him, and his servants took her up.
You know, there's a guy I used to work with who gave me some pretty good advice about not picking up a woman that you can only see by streetlight at night when you've had a few drinks.
Yeah. But, okay, I think we get it. She's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it already. Of course, that's what this whole book is, right? Just
giant army, one beautiful woman.
Giant army, beautiful women. Here's 16 billion pages to cover that.
Yep.
They said, then said Holofernes unto her, "Woman, be of good comfort. Fear not in thine heart, for I never hurt any that was willing to serve Nebuchadnezzar, the king of all the earth." Is it actually Nebuchadnezzar, or is that a different Nebuchadnezzar? Or is that a different person? Anyway,
it is a different person, but
okay.
And
they're confused.
This book, and this version uses really archaic spellings of common names. Like Xerxes was Anaxerxes.
Okay, I get it now. Now therefore, if thy people that dwelleth in the mountains had not set light by me, I would not have lifted up my spear against them. But they have done these things to themselves.
But now tell me, wherefore thou art fled from them, and art come unto us, for thou art come for safeguard. Be of good comfort. Thou shalt live this night and hereafter.
Oh, good. We will not kill you.
Yeah, you don't kill beautiful women.
For none shall hurt thee, but entreat thee well, as they do the servants of King Nebuchadnezzar my lord.
All right. Then Judah said unto him, Receive the words of thy servant, and suffer thine handmaiden to speak in thy presence, and I will declare no lie to my lord this night. And if thou wilt follow the words of thine handmaid, God will bring the thing perfectly to pass by thee, and my lord shall not fail at his purposes.
And if you're wondering where the segment Lauren disappeared from was, that's yet to come. I recorded the opening before I'd edited the conversation with the three of us, and I thought that we'd get it all done in this episode. Obviously not. Now, because of some weird quirk in the recordings that both Dustin and I made, the last dozen or so verses of the Book of Judith didn't get recorded. We also lost the discussion Dustin, Lauren, and I had about their other podcasts. I've sent a message to Dustin to see if he and Lauren want to come back on and re-record those verses, and I'll let you know what they say. I'd really like to talk about their sci-fi podcast, whose name I can't remember, and I can't find it by looking at Dustin's Facebook page. I will have links to the Atheist Nomads podcast in the show notes. I also need to apologize for not mentioning this earlier, but Adam Fusen from the Unbuckling the Bible Belt podcast on his own went to the vet and paid for Fuzznuts' vaccinations that he'll be getting next month. Really have to thank Adam for that. The vet's office won't neuter the little guy until after he's had his shots, and Adam picking up the tab for the vaccination makes it cheaper for me to get Fuzznuts' balls cut off. Not sure what I'm going to change his name to, since it seems kind of silly to call a cat with no nuts Fuzznuts. My apologies for not mentioning that earlier. And Patreon listeners, I will try to have that episode up tomorrow, if I can.
That's it for this episode of the Atheist in the Trailer Park podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, as well as just about anywhere else podcasts can be found. Many of the episodes are also on YouTube. Follow the show on Twitter. @TParkAtheist is the show's Twitter handle. It's on Facebook at facebook.com/trailerparkatheist.com. If you happen to like the podcast, please rate it on iTunes. If you'd like to support the podcast, there's a donate button on the show notes page. You can support it via Patreon at patreon.com/TNTucker. Thanks for listening.
Say goodnight, Fuzznuts.
All I know is this violates every canon of respectable broadcasting.
Damned cat.